Pick the Nintendo Shack and pray. Frederick from Fire Emblem Awakening says yo.
Greetings, Koopalings, and welcome back to Nintendo Shack, part of the Play Some Video Games Podcast Network. No, I am not Rebecca. I am sorry. She is away. She is having fun, gallivanting all around. But joining me in this awesome crossover, my RPG cave partner in crime, Mr. Ryan Turford. Ryan, the weatherman on the moose. How are you doing, good sir?
Oh, I'm doing well. I'm so excited to be here, first of all, as someone who's, watched Shaq for a long time and see, you and Rebecca be awesome every single week.
Yeah.
I'm so glad to finally be able to be here and be on the show with you guys. And of course, this is just an awesome crossover with us because we already do a show every week together anyways, Garrett. So it's cool. We can kind of bring that here. And it's even more special this week too, Garrett, because I couldn't be on the show with you Monday. So you almost had an entire week where you didn't have to deal with my nonsense, but here we are.
I had to lead on the whole week, basically. The two podcasts I'm normally into, I had to carry on the torch and host around. So, but we prevailed. We went through. Actually, on Monday, we recorded our Pokemon Scarlet and Violet review over at the Carpool Gaming. We had a lot of people come over. We got like 3 other people in that review. So once that's up, go check it out because I think it's
actually
really
up right now. It went up yesterday.
It's up now.
It's up on youtube.com/carpool gaming. It should be one of the very first things you actually see because on the website, because I don't think we've done much, since then. So it's right there.
Okay, cool. Sounds good. Is this your first time in Shack, at all?
It is, because I've been on Xbox Empire a bunch of times, and I've been on PSVG twice, but this is my very first time ever being on Shack.
This is your inaugural, into the Nintendo Shack. Cool. I guess we can do some fire round questions for you right now. You don't even have to think about it. Just answer. Favorite Nintendo console, go.
Super Nintendo.
That's a good one. And then favorite Nintendo franchise, go.
Metroid, by a landslide.
There we go. All right, guys. Super Nintendo and Metroid. We got a serious Nintendo fan over here. So before we get into the news, Ryan, what have you been playing? Any Nintendo games?
So I have, believe it or not, Garrett. First of all, most people know me from doing the Xbox Drive, and I play a lot of PlayStation and Xbox, and I don't get to usually play my Switch a whole lot. But believe it or not, the month of December been pretty good for Switch for me personally. So I've been playing a lot more Switch than usual, including, of course, because it's me. I brought props because, as Garrett knows, I bring props a lot of times.
Course.
So I've been playing a lot of Taiko no Tatsujin Rhythm Festival. So this actually came out on Switch a couple months ago. And for those that aren't familiar with this series, it's a long running, arcade drumming series from Japan. And there's a bunch of licensed music in this game, especially if you're an anime fan like I am, and you like drums, because there's a ton of anime songs from a lot of popular anime, but then there's a lot of lesser known stuff. They did an entire pack for Studio Ghibli music, as well as music from Bleach, Cowboy Bebop, Evangelion, a whole bunch of anime series, but also again a lot of cool vocalized songs, pop songs, Bandai Namco music songs. It's a really fun rhythm game if you like, drums and stuff like that. So I've been playing a lot of that as someone like me who played drums in real life for a number of years. This game's totally up my alley. So having a lot of fun with this one. There's also, I don't know if you knew this, Garrett, because this game actually has a subscription service where on the cartridge, there is only 20 songs on the cartridge, but there's a subscription that you can get for it that's $2 a month, where you get access to 500 plus songs that then just continue to be added every week with new songs.
That's kind of crazy
to play, which is really cool. So so I've been having a lot of fun with Taiko no Tatsujin. Again, I've always loved the series from its other iterations because it's been on Xbox and PlayStation and Switch before. But this one in particular with the subscription service and having access to that, because of course I signed up for it because it's very cheap.
Of course. If you play it regularly, that's
yeah,
a good
I think
deal.
it's worth it. Like if you have any interest at all, like you should get the subscription service, because I've been having so much fun going through like the online songs and just playing all kinds of like random stuff that I've never heard of before. So
is it just like a rhythm scroll bar type of deal with button prompts? Okay,
yeah,
cool.
so it actually comes up with drum signals, and basically as you like there's two different types of drum hits. So hitting the flat of the drum and then the side of the drum, because there's also a drum peripheral which I actually don't have, because again it's an arcade game, and in the arcade in Japan you'll actually play with a giant drum with drumsticks. You'll actually be there at it. So
nice.
But it is like your standard scrolling, drum beat,
cool,
play along with the song kind of thing. So if you played a rhythm beat, very similar to what you played before. Also played a lot of Pokemon. I've been playing a lot of Pokemon Scarlet, really enjoying it despite all of its problems that I'm sure you and Rebecca have talked about. I've still
How far are you in? I'm curious.
I'm only like halfway through it because I've finished the gyms. I finished almost all the Titans. I think I'm only missing one more Titan, and then I haven't even touched the star bases yet at this point. So
okay, interesting.
But yeah, really, really enjoying Pokemon as well. But then Garrett, the game of the week, the game that has captured my interest so much to the point where we actually did a game of the year discussion, and this may have come up in some capacity. And that is River City Girls 2. I actually imported this copy from Japan. So this actually came early because the game itself, River City Girls 2, actually just came out this week on the 15th. So literally yesterday from the time we're recording this. But I had to get this copy early. One, because they were doing limited run physical releases for River City Girls 2 on Limited Run's website. But they're super expensive. I think it was like $60 to $70 US to get a copy of it. And I also missed out on getting River City Girls 1 physically from Limited Run, and they're also stupidly expensive now if you want to go to the open market. But then when I saw Japan was putting up this version that which comes with both River City Girls 1 and 2 on the same cartridge, which comes with the English versions of the games, so you don't have to worry about it being in Japanese. Like it's the same thing that we got here, but just on a cartridge, and it was $40 Canadian to get this.
That's a good deal.
Quite a big discount, but man, River City Girls 2. Oh my God, Garrett, this game is so fun. It's such a fun,
it's so good
beat 'em up RPG. Because I really love the first one for that reason, where it wasn't just your standard, brawler or beat 'em up game, where you're just running around, hitting enemies and moving on. There are a lot of RPG elements. You have to level up your characters as you go by eating food from like the convenience stores or going to, other stores in the mall to eat food, or likewise, you also have to make sure you're going to the dojo to then you learning new moves for the characters. I just really love the gameplay loop in the River City Girls games, combined with that it has like an incredible soundtrack by Megan McDuffie. She does this awesome like techno pop kind of soundtrack for the games. And as someone who really loved the first game a lot, I was really looking forward to the sequel, and it exceeded my expectations in so many ways. It basically took the foundation that they established with the first game, but then like added onto it in so many meaningful ways with additional characters and new modes and expanding the world map and doing all kinds of awesome stuff. So River City Girls 2 has been my game of the week at this point. I'm having a very hard time putting it down. I've already finished it once, but I kind of want to go back and play it with more characters.
You gotta do a completionist run of some kind, right? Is there like 100% run going on?
Yeah, so I mean, there's a bunch of side quests that you can go do beyond just the main story, and then you have 6 different characters that you can also level up. So you didn't have to go through and level up all the characters as well. So I kind of want to do all that, and it has online multiplayer as well for 2 players, or you can have 4-player local co-op as well. So if you got friends, it's a really good game to play. So
that's
awesome.
Go.
I've been playing so much.
How's the performance on Switch? I'm curious.
So actually, this is something I thought was a Switch specific problem because the game runs currently at 30 frames per second. There is an optimization patch that is coming, but I don't think it's unplayable at that frame rate or anything like that. It's just, it feels different when you compare it to the 60 frames per second we had with the first game. But like I said, WayForward is working on that, and there will be a 60 frames per second patch at some point. They just haven't announced when that's going to be yet. And I thought that was a Switch specific thing, but it actually, when the PlayStation 5 version came out, it's everywhere. So yeah, even on PlayStation 5 and Series X, there's load times on those consoles, and it runs at 30 frames per second. Like same, in fact, it runs identically to the way it runs on Switch on those platforms, which never happens. We never say that about Switch games when they come to other platforms, but this is the
pretty
one.
Funny.
This is the one, man. So yeah, so
interesting.
So and also shout out to Donnie in the chat who points out it runs at 60 frames per second on PC if you run it in beta mode. So that is a good option if you want to play it on PC. You could definitely go play it that route, but. Cool. There's something about playing it on handheld that I've just been really enjoying too. Like that's like a good like pick up and play kind of game because you can.
I feel like a lot of beat 'em ups are like that, right? Like it's more of a handheld thing, at least for me. Like if I want to get into like Scott Pilgrim or anything like that, it feels more like a Switch or mini handheld thing than on a big giant TV screen or something like that. Maybe you're doing couch co-op, sure, on the TV.
If you're playing with your friends, it makes sense. But yeah, if you're just playing solo, like this, that's the type of game that like I pick up and play while I'm on the streetcar on the way to my work. And then, 15 minutes later when I'm at work, I'm putting it down again. And I actually made some, progress in the game.
Nice. Some good pick up and play action going on. Cool, man. Well, I'm glad you're filling up your life with a lot of Switch play. Especially this week for me, not so much. I've been like, I beat Pokemon on Saturday this past week. I think just to update everyone for the Switch audience, my thoughts around this. Of course, you can listen to the review. I talk a little bit more about it, but yeah, I went through it. I beat the game. I went all the way to the ending. Actually, like the next day, after Shaq, like I was like, okay, I'm gonna just trudge through this and see where I end up, and I end up beating the game. I kind of rushed through it. I was looking up online, like, okay, what's the Pokemon next? Okay, was it week 2? That type of deal. I normally look up the Pokemon next so I could just trudge along with it, and I think it was fine. But the ending of this game is pretty special. I was surprised how much work was going on at the end of this game compared to the rest of the game. Like all the gym badges and everything, like 80% of the game, I'm like, this is okay. Scaling is a little off. It's cool. It's open world, all that fun stuff. But the ending of this game, I'm like, okay, they put like the maximum amount of time on this part than any other part of the game. So I implore everyone, go, and if you're playing through the game and if you're like just mid on it, continue to play the game and actually finish it, because I think it is worth your time to just see what the conclusion is of the story and the 3 paths. I think they do a pretty good job of ending that story. So yeah, that's pretty much it with Pokemon. I'm kind of done with it. I don't want to like catch all the Pokemon. I don't want to complete the dex or whatever. I know a lot of people that are into that and the shiny hunting rating and the terror rating. I'm glad it's there for people to just go and be a completionist and everything. And they keep updating the terror rates and all sorts of stuff. But for me, I'm continuing on. I actually was like thinking, oh, I can play this Switch game and that Switch game. And I'm like, you know what? I've played so much Switch this year. I think it's time for me to like put it down a little bit, go on to other consoles, because it's been a while since I've hit up my Xbox and PlayStation, and I want to play a little bit more on my Steam Deck. So I
was waiting for you to say Steam Deck there, Garrett. I was waiting for it. I was chopping at the bit. I knew that bit was coming, that you were like, I'm so ready for my Steam Deck now over my Switch.
I see it right now and I really want to play it, but pretty much, yeah. Steam Deck, I've been trying to organize my library into it, trying to curate like what kind of games I want to put in there in terms of emulation, in terms of Steam. I think I pretty much filled it up, but I think I'll do like a couple of another curation runs where I want like, this is the library like that I want to have for a good while. And then of course have some space if I want to, if there's a new game that comes out, I can just add it on Steam. I played a bunch of various Steam games, but the one game I'm really into right now is Tiny Tina's Wonderlands. It plays pretty well on Steam Deck. I get like medium quality PC graphics, so that's better than Switch graphics. It's at 800p, and it's at I lock it at 50 frames per second. It works just fine. And of course, the battery life sucks. It's like 2 hours, but it for a PlayStation that I can go in for an hour and a half or 2 hours and then just plug it back in on the desk right here is just fine with me. It actually works out for me. But man, it plays
the battery life
super well.
The battery life is still better than a Sega Game Gear on 8 AA batteries, Garrett, because the game time for a Sega Game Gear, for the folks that don't know, of course, 8 AA batteries gets you half an hour of Sega Game Gear play with the minimum brightness settings. So just shout
that's a battery killer.
Wow. There's a reason why that console in particular, when I was growing up, that was the only one that came with the wall charger for a reason, because it was like, well, I guess I'm playing this next to the wall because that's how we play game.
Nice. Tiny Tina is a perfect game for Steam Deck, I think, because it's a good pick up and play game. It I just go into it. I don't need to like really get into the story or whatever, but it's just a bunch of just classic. It's Borderlands gunplay, which I really enjoy. I love Borderlands series so much, and I love the loot. I love the RPG elements in there. It's good stuff. It's a great first-person shooter. The writing is left to be desired, but that's fine. It's just a little bit of the side thing, and then the main thing is the gameplay. It's a good podcast game for sure.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that game earlier this year as well. Like I was talking about with Sean, where like the first 3 months, that was probably like the best game I played this year was Tiny Tina. I really enjoyed just the pick and play aspect of it. And I don't even like the Borderlands games, but that was one that just really won me over there. And actually, Garrett, before we move on, because I know you're trying to get us to move on, but I just want to derail us for just one more second here. There is another game I am playing, but it is not on Switch, but I want to give a shout out to it because it is on Switch, and I hear the Switch port is actually pretty good for it. And that's Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII. Which is kind of like the prequel to Final Fantasy VII, starring Zack, who is like a member of Soldier, which is the organization that Cloud belongs to in Final Fantasy VII, and you get to kind of learn his story and why it's important to the rest of Final Fantasy VII. And I think the port that they did is actually really good. They cleaned up a lot of the cinematics. They changed the combat to be closer to something like the Final Fantasy VII Remake combat, and it's been a lot of fun as well. I've been really enjoying that release. It just came out a couple days ago. But I've been hearing the Switch version is also pretty good. It only runs at 30 frames per second, but I mean, that's what it ran on PSP. So, I mean, you can't really complain too much. It was playable there. So I think it's definitely playable on Switch as well. So I wanted to give it a quick shout out as well before we moved on.
For sure. Keep going, Ryan, because Donnie is loving this role-playing game discussion all around. He is enthralled that we're about to talk about Terra Rising, aka Atelier Ryza.
Well, let me tell you what, like Garrett, because we got a new trailer for Persona 3 Portable this week. It just reminded me that game's coming out on Switch pretty soon, as well as Persona 4 Golden. You can go pre-order it right now on the store.
You should go get those too. Magnificent games. Yeah. Let's move on now. Let's get into the news this week in Nintendo. And the first thing, I think the most important thing to come out this week, we got a new Splatfest.
Yay!
Brian. We got a new Splatfest, a new announcement. The next hashtag Splatoon 3 Splatfest is on the way. And the big question is, what is your favorite taste sensation? Hashtag Team Spicy, hashtag Team Sweet, or hashtag Team Sour. This yummy event runs from January 6th at 4 p.m. Pacific time to January 8th, 4 p.m. Pacific time. So we got 3 teams going on. Team Sweet coming back, apparently. Apparently that it defeated another team I just forgot in Europe like a couple years ago in Splatoon 2. But they're back, reigning champs against Team Spicy, Team Sour. Ryan, you going to be in this? Are you a Splatoon fan, first off?
So I actually don't have Splatoon 3. That is one game I missed out this year. But if I may, Garrett, if I had to pick a team to join, first of all, Team Sour shouldn't even be here. Do people actually love sour things? Like, do you think Sour is like a taste that people love, Garrett? Like, I think people like sour things. I don't think there's anything wrong with liking sour things, but I don't know if it's like the most popular kind of taste sensation that's out there. But maybe that's just me, anyways. But I feel like I've offended you a little bit. But I can't believe there's any other choices besides Team Spicy. Because I mean, Team Spicy, you got to go with Team Spicy.
It's a good one.
Spicy food's really good, Garrett. Especially as someone who lived in Texas for a number of years. Like
there we go.
You gotta go with Team Spicy. Come on, man. What about you?
Team Spicy's good. First when I saw these three, Team Spicy was like, oh, that's my jam. I love spicy food. But the nose gets runny. I can stand spicy food. It's just my reactions can't stand spicy food. I get the runny noses, I get red eyes, but I love it. The mouth gets numb. It doesn't matter. I really love spicy food. But actually, I think I'm gonna go for the underdog here. I'm gonna go Team Sour because I do love sour stuff, like dill pickles, sour noodles, lemon lime zest, like that type of.
I love that you're like struggling to come up with sour foods here, Garrett.
There's some good sour stuff. Okay, I think I want to root for the underdog here. I know it's probably not gonna win at all, but I'm gonna have to go with Team Sour on this one. I know Team Spicy and Sweet is gonna be like the ultimate battle. A lot of people with Team Sweet who doesn't like spicy food at all, and then and then we got the spicy fanatics over there. But you know what? I want to hang with Team Sour. It's gonna be the Hufflepuff of the three teams. So we'll see how this goes.
Because like sweet and spicy is also like a really good combination together. So it almost feels like sweet and spicy are coming together to destroy Team Sour in like a unison combination here. Because like sweet and sour, sweet and spicy things is like a good combination, I think.
I wish they did maybe a different flavor than sour, but I understand why they went with that. Maybe like savory or something like that. But anyways, Team Sour, I'm down for it. I think it adds a cool little flavor to it. I probably will. I mean, with these Splatfests, I've been dabbling with it, not like fully involved. I know a lot of people get really involved with these. I've only done the tri battles like once or twice, and it's fine. Do you have Splatoon, Ryan? I forgot if you did or not.
I don't have Splatoon 3. I have Splatoon 2, but I haven't picked it up yet because it's one of those things where it came out in September, and I was like, man, I could pick up Splatoon 3, or I could pick up like any of these myriad other games that are coming out at the same time. So I kind of missed the boat on it.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, get ready. Splatfest, January 6th to January 8th. Pick your flavors. It's gonna be sweet or spicy. I think is gonna win.
Yeah.
So
I actually think like if I was to guess, it's probably gonna be Team Sweet. I think like I think enough people who like sweet things are playing Splatoon that I think that'll take over both teams. I think pretty easily.
Yeah, pretty much. All right. So the next thing we got on the list, and I know Donnie is ready to hear all about this. Fire Emblem Engage got a new video. I don't want to get into too much detail because I think it's just a lot of side boring things, but I was wondering why they had this video, maybe to be more informative than anything, but it's all about the base, the floating fortress, Insomnium, whatever. And they went through kind of the various activities you can do in this flying fortress. And they go from preparing to battle, they go to the ring chamber where all your rings are going to be, and like getting to know your allies. Man, like this just regurgitates my mind a lot of the previous Fire Emblem games that do this too, like all this side stuff, especially Fire Emblem Three Houses. This was kind of more the lower point for me of that game, is going back to the academy. It's like, oh, I gotta have to talk to students, I gotta go cooking, I gotta do cleaning, I gotta all that fun stuff. I rather just talk to the companions and just go. But it just seems like there's gonna be a lot more side things in this one, and I hope it's not like too required. Man, they even got you cleaning the rings like it's diamond and pearl, shining the badges over here. You got to clean the rings in order to make them shiny, in order to make them your bonds closer to them. I think that's a little ridiculous, but I don't know. What do you think? Did you see this video? Are you hyped up for Fire Emblem? Like, what do you think about this?
I'm actually very hyped for Fire Emblem, despite, Dottie telling us that he's, not in day one and he's kind of against it. Yeah. I'm kind of on the opposite side of the camp where like they've shown me enough of the combat to get me excited for this game. And I know that all this other stuff is going to be in it. And I honestly don't care. Like, that's why I didn't watch the trailer for that reason. Cause like, I almost don't care if they, first of all, I knew they were probably going to add, side stuff like this. Cause they do that with
of course
modern Fire Emblem game. So I kind of expected it, but I also am like kind of on media blackout with this game where I almost don't want to know more about the game. I'm just ready to play it because I've already got my pre-order in for the collector's edition. It's coming day one, and I cannot wait to play this game because, again, the combat is what sells me on Fire Emblem games. And from what they've shown me of the combat, like, I have no worries with this game. So I'm actually very, very excited for it. And I can't wait. It's like right around the corner. We're like almost less than a month away at this point, Garrett, which is exciting.
Yeah. So I'm still very excited for it. I think what really brings me over is the character animations and the design and how well it runs. It looks pretty good for if that's, I mean, it should be running on Switch. It looks really good compared to a lot of other kind of Switch games that we've seen recently. There is this Twitter account that's actually the official Japanese Fire Emblem account. And if you want to know more about what Fire Emblem looks like this game, I would suggest you to follow that account specifically because it literally every day it shows you characters, battles. If you want to go media blackout, don't follow it. But if you're more interested in the combat side of this game, I would actually follow that and just translate the tweets. It's pretty easy to translate the tweets on Twitter and just look at the videos because that's what this game is going to be 90% of the time, and then the 10% is going to be this side stuff. So
because like I was also following that account for a while, and I was seeing the videos, and then I eventually like unfollowed it for the reasons you talked about, where I was like, okay, I've seen enough, I'm good, I know that I'm ready to pick up this game and I can be excited for it. So definitely go check that out if you don't know it, because I would paste it in the chat, but unfortunately I'd have to go to Twitter and comb through it. So go look on Twitter, you'll find me. It's great.
I'm ready to play Pepsi Crust. That's actually, I think, if we can nickname our hero, that's what's gonna be in my game.
Pepsi Crust. Yeah, that's a good name. It's a good name.
Good stuff. All right, next thing on the list, pretty short, but we keep getting these games, which is actually nice additions to the Switch Online service. We got 4 new Sega Genesis games. One of your favorite consoles, Ryan.
I was going to say, if there's any news segment that is a Ryan Turford news segment, it's this one.
Definitely. So there's 4 new Sega Genesis games out now. We got Golden Axe 2, Alien Storm, Columns, and Virtua Fighter 2, which I think is probably the biggest one out of the 4.
Well, let me break them down for you, Garrett. First of all,
break me down.
Virtua Fighter 2, very, very late Sega Genesis game, because it was a port of the arcade game, which of course was in 3D, like one of the very first 3D fighting games that was out there. So it does not run well on the Sega Genesis. It's not a great port because they did like this 2D thing within it. It's just not nearly as good as the original arcade version. So that's actually the one I would say is probably the least exciting of the 3 of these, because first of all, Columns is actually like a pretty good puzzle game, similar to like it's a match 3, similar to like a Tetris or something like that, or a Puyo Puyo. And I think it's actually pretty fun. I think it's more fun than people give it credit for. It's got some decent music too, and I think it's definitely one of the better puzzle games that's on the Sega Genesis. So I think that's a good one. Alien Storm and Golden Axe 2 are actually both beat 'em up games. Alien Storm is like a sci-fi versus aliens kind of beat 'em up game, where you also have, other weapons at your disposal. And then Golden Axe is just a really solid beat 'em up game if you've never played it before. That's fantasy based. It's a great couch co-op game if you have a friend, or I imagine the online is going to be pretty good for that as well. So I actually think like of this drop, I think like those 3 are the strongest ones, and I think the best one in the bunch is Golden Axe 2. I had so many good memories playing that with my brother Kyle. We used to play that to death, back in the day, but even revisiting it now, like it's still a really fun game to play, especially if you've got a friend to play with. So highly recommend all 3 of those games. You can steer away from Virtua Fighter 2, especially because again, there are just so many better fighting games, even on the Sega Genesis as itself, that like you can check it out if you want to play it, but it's definitely, I think, probably lower on the priority list anyways.
Cool. Thank you for educating me, Ryan. I don't know much about these Sega Genesis games. I'm glad that they're adding more and more, at least the Genesis games, to this service. And we talked ad nauseum about the library of Switch Online, but at least they're drip feeding these Genesis games pretty well, like throughout like the past few years now. But I think Donnie's been punching at us for a while now, but he has some breaking news, Ryan, and I'm gonna share his announcement real quick here. Hold on, let me see if I can do this. I understand, Melon. All right, cool. Let's do that screen. Okay, we could share that one, and let's load it up, guys. Where is Sports Story? Where is it? It is at the time of recording is December 16th. They said December, and nothing. There's no social announcements. There's no videos, no updates. Donnie says there's a missing Sports Story game. Description: adorable, funny sports role-playing game. It looks really good. Yes. And then missing from the Nintendo eShop. Last seen November 9th, 2022. Man, it's been a while now. Metageek, they didn't say December. I thought they did. I thought they said later this year.
I'm pretty sure they actually said December, but I'd have to.
That's what I thought too. Yeah,
I'm like 90% positive they said the words December, but I could be wrong.
Yeah,
because I'm an old man, so I forget things.
He's joking with me. Anyways, can you help? Please call your local gamer with any information. Discord, PSVG, Twitch, and then callers will remain anonymous. So, guys, if you have found this lost game in the ether, contact Donnie Reese over at PSVG. He needs to know exactly where this game is, because it's nowhere to be found. Ryan, question for you.
Sure.
Will this game come out this year? What do you think?
Yes, it will come out. I'm going to even put a date to this. It'll come out.
Okay, cool.
Let's see. Let me look in the calendar and reference this so I have the right date. It will come out on December 29th. That's when it'll come out. That's my pick. It's not coming out next week. I feel like if it was coming out next week, we would have heard about it today.
Mm-hmm.
But because we haven't heard about it today, I imagine it's the 29th. But I mean, the studio that makes Sports Story kind of reminds me of Way Forward, because I know something similar actually happened with River City Girls too, because a lot of people, like, they kept saying, oh, it'll be out this year. It'll be out this year. And people got worried, like right before December rolled around. They're like, all right, where's River City Girls 2? They haven't announced the release date for it. But Way Forward's the type of company that will literally announce the release date for a game a week before the game comes out, because they know that the marketing was already done either at a Nintendo Direct or an indie showcase or something like that. And I imagine Sports Story is in a similar camp where they will announce a week before it comes out when it comes out. Like, I think that's the theory, which, it'd be weird if they announced that the week of Christmas, but Christmas is on a Sunday this year. So I don't think it'd be too weird if they announced it like on Monday or even Wednesday or Thursday even. But I don't know. That's just my theory. But what do you think, Garrett?
It's just so weird how they market this game. I think of it as a bigger thing just because people, like, in our surrounding community are very vocal about it. But maybe they just don't know until like really the week before. They really don't know if they can release it this year or sometime next year or like early next year if they delay it, because they've been radio silent for like a few years. And then it just came out of nowhere last month saying it's going to be a December. So, I mean, it's possible that they announce it. But maybe, with the holidays being around, like, I don't know. I really don't know. I mean, I think December 29th is okay. for an indie game, especially. I think it's a quiet season. I think it's people have extra money and gift card money to like think about what to get on Switch, and I think that's good. I think if they're gonna do that, they're gonna have to announce something next week. To
like
say,
we'll
hey,
know by like next Thursday whether or not this game is coming out this year or not. I think like if we don't hear anything by next Thursday, I think the window closes and then it'll be out next year kind of thing.
I am gonna put on December 30th. I think it's gonna be on a Friday.
Yeah,
but so we'll see.
Before we move on, Garrett, I have two follow-up questions for you.
Sure.
So first off, which do you think comes out first, Sports Story or GoldenEye? Because both of them are supposed to still come out this year. Which comes out first? And then, of course, my second question for you, Garrett, when do we actually put a missing sign out for Advance Wars 1 and 2 Reboot Camp? Because it's been a long time since we've seen that game.
Yeah, that's true. I think Sports Story is going to come out first before GoldenEye, just because we haven't heard about GoldenEye for a while, and we still don't hear about it. And I don't know what the licensing like situation is, because there's a lot of stakeholders involved with that IP and publishing it and figuring out where to put it. And so I'm more inclined. And then we just got these Sega Genesis games too announced. I doubt we're gonna have the extra bonus GoldenEye later on this month. I can imagine it next month, or just whenever. I think Nintendo saw this game. It's gonna come out Switch Online. It's like a bonus for them, really, than anything. So whenever it comes. They're all about it. But I think Sports Story is gonna come out. I really think they're gonna sneak it out like right before the end of the year.
Yeah. Because actually, Garrett, I'm gonna turn this on the conversation on its head. I actually think GoldenEye comes out first, because I actually have a sneaking suspicion that they launch GoldenEye on Christmas, and then as a surprise for everyone who gets a Switch that day, to then push subscriptions for people who get open up gift cards on Christmas for their new Switches. I think they make that move, and then later that week, Sports Story comes out.
That would be cool. That would be really cool. That would be a Christmas miracle if all that happens.
God, what a week that would be if they did that. By the way, if we got GoldenEye and Sports Story in the same week, oh my God, that would be so good.
During Christmas, all the free time, and you're ready to dig into the Nintendo Switch Online. So there you go, Donnie. You got some hope for you before the end of the year. We'll see how it goes. Next thing we got on, it was actually surprising to see this out of nowhere. We got more amiibo, Ryan. So Super Smash Brothers, #amiibo for DLC fighters Kazuya and Sephiroth will be released on January 13th, 2023. But not only those two, which we expected those two to come out. Yeah. We also look forward to the release of Pyra and Mithra from Xenoblade Chronicles 2 in 2023. We got finally Pyra and Mithra amiibos. So, Ryan, are you going to get into any of these? Are you going to get Sephiroth? I feel like you're a Sephiroth guy. So,
believe it or not, Garrett, I have Sephiroth pre-ordered. So I am so excited, because actually I don't collect every amiibo, but I collect amiibo for the characters that I really like. I in fact, actually, I used to collect amiibo a whole lot. I have in a box, I have a collection of almost every Smash amiibo.
Oh,
wow. But I don't actually have all of them nowadays. But yeah, Sephiroth is one I knew how to get. Just I bought both versions of Cloud when Cloud came out, because of course I love Final Fantasy. And Kazuya is one of those things where if I was in the process of buying every single amiibo still, I would have picked him up. But now I don't care about Tekken, so he was not one that I picked up. But around the same time, Garrett, I don't know if you knew this, because I wanted to throw a PSA out there. If y'all actually missed both either the Marth or the Corrin Player 2 amiibos, they're actually being reprinted for Fire Emblem Engage, and they're actually coming out the same day, I believe, as as Sephiroth and Kazuya. And I actually missed out on Corrin Player 2, which is actually like a very expensive amiibo. In fact, like I remember doing an episode. I think it was PSVG with Donnie, and him and I were talking about it and how like I told him that it was worth like over $100. He's like, really? And then he ended up selling it for that on eBay like the next day kind of thing. So that was when I missed out on it. I really like Corrin from Fates. So that's when I definitely wanted to get. So I actually ended up pre-ordering that one too. Whereas I already have Marth, luckily. So I didn't have to get that one again. Cool. So just throwing it out there. And of course I'm getting Pyra and Mithra as well. Because like those amiibo actually look really cool. And I can't wait to get those as well. But do you collect amiibo, Garrett? It doesn't look like you have room in your bedroom for amiibo at all.
I do have some amiibo next to me, but yeah, very rarely. I don't know if I'll get any of these. Xenoblade Chronicles 2. I did play it this year. I don't particularly like the characters are good and great. I just don't think I'll get the Pyra and Mithra amiibo. But that's just me. I do have, who do I have? Okay. I have Joker, I have Falco, and Ness. Those were like my 3 big amiibos that I really needed. Falco and Ness is the 2 main characters I've played in Super Smash Brothers. Falco, I played a lot in Super Smash Brothers Melee. That was actually my main character there that I played a little bit competitively. And then Ness was my one in Super Smash Brothers for 3DS and Wii U, as well as the new one on Switch. So those are my favorites. But yeah, I think I've been good for a while for the amiibo, because for me it's just like I buy these amiibo and then I just store them somewhere. I put them on a shelf, they collect dust. I don't want to deal with that. So
you're not like me, who has like this giant figure collection on a shelf behind him kind of thing. Like I like collecting figures and stuff. In fact, like instead of buying the Pyra and Mithra amiibo, they have Good Smile Company actually released these really awesome like 1/6 scale figures of Pyra and Mithra.
I saw that.
And I'm like, man, that's really expensive, but I kind of want those. So like at some point I might have to try and find a used version of those and maybe pick those up, because like I actually really like those a lot. Because like you're right, like I also didn't really love Xenoblade Chronicles 2, but I like Pyra and Mithra as characters, so I kind of want like Pyra and Mithra character figures of some kind. Though that's I might actually just end up with just getting the amiibo instead of the bigger fancy figures. But I did have that on my mind at some point, because I'm actually, that one figure I'm actually really excited about, Fire Emblem related, that's coming out soon, is like there's like their 1/6 scale Bailiff that's coming out.
Oh, a Bailiff one. Cool.
Yeah, which I'm like super stoked to get next month. So there's that. But yeah, figures are cool. So there you go.
As you can tell, I'm a minimalist. If I don't need something like hanging up on the wall or something like that, I tend to be as minimal as possible. I like to have digital stuff, like like that's why I love my Steam Deck. I can put a lot of stuff in there and curate all the games I want. But like anything physical, I just have to like move it with me. And I'm more or less like being like nomadic. I like to travel around, and I think I'm okay not having a lot of physical stuff next to me.
Especially when you like move across the country like you did, Garrett. Like obviously you don't want to carry all that stuff with you. Whereas, it's one of those things where, when I'm only moving not too far away from each other, it's like, well, I can keep some of this stuff and bring it with me. And plus I, have all these games and other things with me too. So there's that. A lot of stuff to put in boxes.
Nice. All right. I think this next one's a weird one. It'll be pretty short though. Straightforward. Mario Kart 7. Do you guys remember that game? The game that came out in 2011 on the 3DS. I remember getting this because I bought the 3DS on launch and grabbed Mario Kart 7 as well, or at least close to that release date. It got an update. It got a random online update to version 1.2 just recently, like this week. And it says like the official like report or whatever is like, oh, some bugs, some minor performance issues or whatever. There was a data miner that kind of looked into this update, and they suggest that it could possibly related to some security bugs, which is actually quite surprising. So yeah, if anyone still is on that 3DS, go and update your Mario Kart 7 game.
Yeah.
So it, at least you have that comfort of like, security, I guess, just in case. But
what kind of
that's a
security?
super
What are
weird
you
thing.
protecting against? Is someone going to hack into your your 3DS while you're playing it in Mario
don't
Kart
know,
7?
man.
Like, I don't know how that works. It's weird.
I don't know. Vita and PSP, after seeing what's been done to those consoles, anything is possible. In 3DS, man, like, yeah, hackers broke that wall wide open. So I'm not sure what could be the case with this. I think they just updated just to close it off and just leave it be. So it's probably not too important, but I don't know if you're still playing if you're playing 3DS regularly
Yeah.
and your kid's playing Mario Kart on 3DS, like, yeah, just go ahead and update it. It's okay. It won't harm anything. So there you go.
In
You
fact,
can
it might
update it
harm
while
more if you don't update it by that
that's
logic.
true. That's true. You can update it while they close everything else, close the store, and right in front of you. RIP 3DS, you were a great handheld console. There you go. Next thing I want to talk about is this Nintendo Switch year in review, because of course Spotify kind of led the charge, and now every other company is wanting to do this end of the year type of stuff, capitalize on the stuff that you've done throughout the year and celebrate all your consumer activities. So Nintendo did the same exact thing, and it's like, here are all the games that you kind of played. So yeah, me and Ryan, I don't know, Ryan, if you tweeted out. I tweeted out my Nintendo Switch year in review. Of course, Shin Megami Tensei 5 and Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and 3 are my most played of this year. It's shocking. It's so shocking.
Yeah.
Did you take a look at your Switch year
I
in
did.
review?
In fact, actually, I pulled it up because I couldn't remember off the
Cool.
top of my head what it was, because I didn't tweet it out, because I should have done that, but I never got around to it.
Oh, okay. Got it.
I'm so lazy, Garret. But my number one game, believe it or not, the most played game, which surprised me actually, was Catherine Full Body. Because
okay, cool.
Because first of all, I love Catherine Full Body. I love the original game when it was on 360 and PS3. And when it came to Switch with, a bunch of different endings and stuff like that. And I fell down the rabbit hole again with Catherine, and I wanted to get all the endings and stuff like that on Switch. So that's why it's actually my most played game. I played it a ton. But then my second place one is actually Mario Kart 8, because we had so many community game nights for Mario Kart 8 over on Carpool Gaming that is just like, it was very easily in my top 3 games. And then the last one may not surprise you, Garret, but might surprise our listeners. It's the NES app on Nintendo Switch was my third.
Oh, not surprised at all.
Not surprising, considering the fact that literally, like, I may have replayed Super Mario Brothers 3 like 12 times on the Switch this year, just full playthroughs with no warp whistles. So I play that game a lot. But even going back and playing Ninja Gaiden or all the other games on Switch Online, like, I actually really enjoy the NES experience on Switch Online. So I actually play it a lot. So that's actually why it's my number 3, despite the fact that I played other RPGs on there. Like, I played, 13 Sentinels, I played Monarch, I played Aegis, I played AI
Triangle Strategy,
Triangle Strategy, the Cowabunga Collection. Like, I played so much stuff on Switch, that with long play times, which is why I'm like even more surprised that like Catherine was like my top one, because I was just like, I gotta replay and get this and get all like 12 endings in Catherine, because they're so good.
Mm-hmm. Dang, nice. I do need to play that one, because it is made by Atlas, and I hear it's very good.
It's made by the Persona team. Like, it was the game
team, yeah,
because like it was the game that they made between Persona 4 and Persona 5 when they needed to come up with the engine for Persona 5. They built Catherine to do that, and it's like this really fun, like, mature dating game that's also a puzzle game. Like, it's very different from Persona, but at the same time it has like a lot of the feels with the tone and the subject matter. So if you like the Persona games, like, I think Catherine is like a slam dunk of a game. It's really good.
Sure. I actually did get it on Switch a while ago. I just never got into it, so definitely will be on my ever-ending backlog list, and we'll see where it falls. It normally my backlog's like it's a chaotic abyss where it's randomized, And whenever I want to like even touch that ether, it like randomizes the prioritization of all those games. It's just like whatever comes up first. Catherine Full Body, maybe it sometime next year. Now that you regurgitate that in my mind. So
well, especially too, because like a playthrough is actually pretty short. You can beat the game in like 6 to 8 hours with one playthrough.
That's not bad.
If you know what you're doing. And then like even like your very first playthrough, it still only might take like 10 hours to do. So it's not a long game. It's definitely shorter than all the 100% of teams games.
Yeah.
But also I just love the fact that like every time you and I do a podcast together, Garrett, your just backlog just does this, just grows exponentially. Cause that
just goes up, man.
Yeah.
Hey, that's what the Steam Deck is here for, right? Just, make sure that backlog is just like looking at my face all the time.
Yeah. How are those PS2 games coming along, by the way, Garrett?
They're in there. And they're working pretty well.
Nice.
They are. I wasn't going to say too much about the emulation because I know Rebecca's interested, but Steam Deck is so easy to emulate. It's actually, of course it's not, it's on the borderline of being criminal or whatever, illegal or stealing or whatever when you're doing it on a phone or a computer or, like my Retro Pocket, but I had to work to get to it, like I didn't I felt like I earned it because I actually put in the work. Steam Deck, it feels criminal because it's so easy to do. But I will leave it for another discussion with Rebecca.
Very nice
emulation.
Yeah.
Quick announcement. If anyone's still in Mario Strikers, they did get some DLC characters. They got Birdo and Bowser Jr. And then they have some extra items. You can increase speed and technique with the shellfish gear. And then they have an extra stadium called Urban Rooftop. It came out a few days ago. Ryan, are you in the Mario Strikers? Are you into these new characters?
I haven't bought this game. I decided, after playing the test fire for Mario Strikers, I wasn't picking it up until they finish adding everything. Cause like, that's usually my approach to Mario sports games now that I know that they have this like iterative approach. I usually just wait until the game is fully updated and they announce that there are going to be no other updates. And then that's when I buy them. That's what I did with Mario Golf. That's what I did with Mario Tennis. And I think that's what I'm going to do with Strikers as well. So I will get it at some point, but it's just like, I can wait until they finish adding all that stuff, but it's cool. It's cool that they're adding new characters. I'm glad that Birdo and Bowser Jr. are coming in. Those are cool characters. So yeah, there you go. Mario Strikers. Please be excited.
It still looks fantastic because it's the same people that made Luigi's Mansion 3. And it still looks pretty gorgeous, but man, what a letdown this game was for a lot of people. It kind of disappointed. I loved Mario Strikers. I think Mario sports games to me now don't click with me as much as before. I think that's just more of a preferential thing. I don't think it's like, it could be due to the quality of it, but at the same time, it's just like, I'm not going out of my way to go to the Nintendo sports game anymore. So smart to leave it to the end and see if they have some. I wouldn't say they would have a complete edition per se, but I guess they'll tell you when the last update.
When you do like the last update, when you update, throw in that last patch, it's like, well, now it feels kind of like I bought like the ultimate edition of the game, but for the same price as the normal game kind of thing.
Yeah. And then the last thing we got to talk about, announcements this week. It's finally happening. The ESRB rated Final Fantasy Pixel remasters, Final Fantasy 1 through 6 for Switch. Ryan, this is day one for you.
Garrett, I'm so excited for this. You have no idea how long I have been waiting, pleading, begging for this news from Square Enix. I cannot wait to replay these games on consoles, on Switch. It's also coming to PS4 by the sounds of it too, but I'm so excited to play the Pixel remasters. Ever since they announced them for PC, I'm like, I've been so tempted to get them on PC, but I'm glad I held out this whole time because I'm going to finally be able to play them where I want to play them, because I wanted to play them on Switch or PlayStation. I might even be the crazy person who gets them on both platforms.
You get both.
Garrett.
Yeah.
Because like because like there's something alluring about getting a platinum trophy for each one of these games, Garrett, because I'm the crazy enough person who would want to do that. So yeah, I can't wait for these games. Like I've seen people stream them on PC, and I've wanted them ever since they announced them. So I'm so happy this is finally coming to consoles. Thank the maker. But Garrett, what about you? Are you at all excited about this, being the non like Final Fantasy person specifically? What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'm very happy for the people who want these pixel remasters. I have gotten so many different versions of these Final Fantasy classic games, and I haven't gone for them. I think the way I want to tackle these classic Final Fantasy games is I'm just gonna get them one at a time. And
Okay.
like if I get one game, I need to beat it, or at least say I'm done with it before I move on to the next one. And so I think I will get like Final Fantasy 1 Pixel Remaster, or how about you suggest me one of the 6? I think that's
Yeah.
probably a better thing.
Yeah, because like that's a tough choice. I would say 4 or 6 is probably your best bet. The nice thing is it
I
doesn't
heard
matter
4 is
which one
good.
you play, because like
Mhm.
they don't tie together in any way or anything like that. And I think 4 is actually a pretty good one to start with, actually. But 6 is like one of the best games of all time, in my opinion. So
Cool.
I think both are really good choices. So I'd say one of the two of those.
Okay,
5 is
cool.
really good too. They're on Super Nintendo as well. But
Great. I think I'll go with 4 just because I don't wanna, like, you know, do 6, really enjoy 6, and then, like, feel like there's, like, a downgrade or anything, like, beforehand or whatever.
yeah,
Um, so I
that
think
makes
I'll
sense
go for
because like
yeah.
I was gonna say you don't want to have that experience where you're like get used to the new features in 6 and then have to go back to 4. Like I think
Right.
that makes sense to do that way.
And I'm probably gonna get it still on Steam Deck and not on Switch. And just because of I like of course, like you, I like handheld, but I also like Steam achievements now. Now they pop up like a trophy on my Steam Deck. It really does hit me. I'm like, oh sweet. This is finally I'm getting achievements based on the games I play. This is amazing. And that's another ding to Nintendo. I wish they had some type of achievement system. But yeah, I think when these games release and then they're in the conversation, I will start thinking about this more. And again, one at a time. Like I get one game and I'm not saying I have to beat it, but at least like get enough the way through saying I'm done with this game. Go to a next one if I do. I just yeah, and getting all these games, it just seems pointless to me. Um they are probably gonna be, I think they're 12 or 17 USD per
Yeah.
game. I
They're not
forgot
too
which one.
expensive on Steam, but I'm
Mhm.
also curious how they're going to bundle it on Switch. If they're
Yeah.
going to actually sell them individually, because they might not. They might just sell. They might only give you the option to buy all 6 games. But I don't know. I'm curious how they're going to package that together. And also, I want to know if they're going to do a physical at some point, because I would love like
Mhm.
a cartridge with all 6 games on it. I think that would be like really cool, like a cool collection on the cartridge to have.
That would be really cool, yeah. I think, I don't know, they could do a limited run of that. I man, they'll overprice that thing out the wazoo if they
Oh,
do,
probably.
but people will buy it. Normally with Final Fantasy games on Switch, they've done odd pricing, they've done individual releases, so I don't find this any different. They'll put it at $19.68 if they want to on the Switch. They don't really care. So just be on the lookout. Sometime I would say early next year. I
Yeah.
I would suspect February or March if it's rated already.
I would say like whenever the next Nintendo Direct is in January,
Yeah.
assuming in January, of course. Whatever that is, this is the type of thing that'll be a shadow drop during a Direct, I'm imagining.
Yep. So there you go. That's all the news that we have for this week. A lot of news going on. A lot of just small little announcements here and there to, settle out for the end of the year. Now we're going to go with the Shack questions direct from you. And here's our first one from West 3DP. He asked, why is Dragon Quest is so amazing, Ryan? Any interest in the Dragon Quest Treasures, the new game that I think is coming out, or it came out this month?
It just came out last week, I think, is when Treasures came out. Because I remember seeing a bunch of people playing it on stream. I'm personally not super interested in Dragon Quest Treasures because like I'm more into the Dragon Quest mainline games, and even them, it's like the formula to me for Dragon Quest mainline games has gotten a little stale because they are all kind of the same. We've talked about it on the RPG Cave when we've had questions about Dragon Quest before, because the formula for Dragon Quest usually doesn't change too much, except for in the spin-off games like Treasures, where they do something different. So I'm actually more interested in something like Treasures versus maybe a mainline game at the moment, but I don't know. I'm not really super interested in Dragon Quest as it is. It's not a franchise that I'm usually there day one on. It's more like when Treasures go on sale, I think I maybe look at picking that one up. But what about you, Garrett?
Yeah, Dragon Quest. I, try to dabble with it. The earliest memory I have is Dragon Quest 9 on the DS. I remember getting it, and I didn't know what Dragon Quest was. I didn't know it was a thing. I just saw that game. It looked cool. Played it for a while on DS and kind of got bored with it and just moved on. I really want to try out Dragon Quest 11 sometime. I do have it on Switch. I think that will be the one game I'll go to first before trying any kind of big side stuff. But I did love Dragon Quest Builders 1 and 2. Those are very, very good. If people don't know, these are kind of a blend of an RPG and Minecraft builder type of game where you go throughout like a story and it's all block associated, very similar to Minecraft, and you have blueprints where you build your buildings, and then you have quest driven systems there, and actually it's really solid. Those line of games, both of them, they're on Switch. But Dragon Quest Treasures, I can, like you, I don't know if I would ever get to it. I would rather just focus on Dragon Quest 11 first before Treasures.
Yeah. And it's also hard too, because I think they're launching it in a month where there's just a ton of other releases around it. Like for God's sakes, we also have another Square Enix release that came out a week later with Crisis Core. So it's like there's just kind of too much to play at the moment. So that's also why I'm like Dragon Quest Treasures, as much as like I would probably be more interested in that game if it came out in like August, or if it came out in April, or like one of the months where we just didn't have a ton of releases. But like December is kind of stacked as it is, especially if you play games on other platforms with, Callisto Protocol, Marvel's Midnight Suns, River City Girls 2. Like there's just so much to play right now that it's tougher for me to get excited about a game like Treasures, which is why, again, like I think like I'll probably pick up at some point when it goes on sale. But for now, I'm probably just going to hold off.
Square went full like heavy fire this fall.
Oh my God, there were so many games.
It was your full-time job, no joke, because it was just game after game after game after game from Square Enix.
I reviewed most of them over on Carpool, and I'm still reviewing Crisis Core. So I mean, like,
my goodness,
yeah, I played almost every single one of them. The Treasures, I think, is the only one I've missed because I played Valkyrie Elysium.
You played Harvestella?
I played Harvestella. I also played Star Ocean. I played every Square Enix game that's come out this fall. So
goodness.
Yeah. I'm that person.
Square went full heavy. I wonder how much they have next year. Of course, they got their heavy hitters, but
we have their next game Forspoken next month, Garrett. They have another game next month, and then the Pixel remasters too, because that's also Square Enix.
That's true. That's true. Man, Square is going. I don't know. It's an odd way for them to go around this industry with this schedule release. I think they mentioned like they need more content, like sell more content, more quantity wise than quality. And that's why you see all of these kind of smaller games. Of course, they trimmed up, they dropped their Western studios. So I don't know what they're thinking in their heads too much with all these side games. I guess it's just more of an autonomy where a lot of studios are making very different projects and they have their own kind of deadlines. So yeah, I wonder if they'll be, I wouldn't be surprised if they're just looking on the prowl to get sold somewhere and be safe, but That's just speculation.
So. Also, just shout out to the chat as well, XBS, who mentioned they have 3 games in the first 2 months of 2023, and I don't think that even includes the Pixel remasters. So if you're not tired of Square Enix games already, please be excited for even more.
Please be excited. Kyle the Pug asks, I asked PSPG this Wednesday, and I'll ask it here. What are your top 3 best and worst gaming purchases of 2022?
Ooh, that's a good one.
I'm gonna have to think about this one. Of course, 3 best, I would say, for me is Xenoblade Chronicles 3, Mario plus Rabbids, Sparks of Hope, and then Pokemon Legends Arceus. Those were the big 3. I think that, because they were all full price, day one purchase. I really enjoyed all of them. Legends Arceus really surprised me. I think those were, probably the best gaming purchases for sure.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing. Kyle the Pug did not specify that these have to be Switch specific gaming purchases.
No, any games.
Number one, River City Girls 1 and 2. I think this was like a slam dunk, actually. I talked about it earlier, but the fact that it was so cheap and I got both games, like, please, that was a slam dunk. So that's got to be one of them. I bought the Sega Genesis Mini 2 this year, Garret, which I sunk a ton of time into playing this year. That mini console is awesome. Like, if you are at all interested in playing Sega Genesis games at all, I highly recommend it. Like, that was one of my favorite things that I bought gaming wise this year was the Sega Genesis Mini 2. So I'm going to throw that out there as another one. And then my last one, so I don't want to spoil my game of the year from our Carpool Gaming Show.
Sure.
So I'm going to keep that off the list. And I'm going to give a shout out to a console that I don't ever talk about, Garret, and that is the Sega Saturn, because I bought a Sega Saturn this year for the first time, and I actually really like the Sega Saturn. There's a lot of great games on the Saturn, and getting a Saturn modded with an SD card slot instead of the disc drive.
Oh, nice! Yeah.
Oh baby! Oh man! Oh, it's so good. I've been playing so many
Sega Saturn. That that's the one console I only played once in church. I specifically remember a Sega Saturn with it has that screen, doesn't it, on the controller?
No, that's the Dreamcast.
Oh, that's the Dreamcast. Sorry. Okay,
yeah,
Sega Saturn is the one before.
That's the VMU, which is your memory card and also a screen to then play mini games on, because you can take that screen to go and it's got little buttons on it.
Oh my gosh. Sega was so whack. I love it. It was so cool.
Well, clearly you didn't play enough with the bass fishing controller for the Dreamcast, Garret, which was literally like a fishing reel that you then did this. You reeled in the fish. And wait, playing Sega bass fishing. Oh man, so good.
Nice. I think my worst gaming purchases. I don't know if I have a really bad one. I just have some games that I've purchased that I have not gotten to yet, like Triangle Strategy. I got it thinking, I'm going to play this like within the week or within the month, but never gotten time to get there. And then also, I actually got Horizon Forbidden West like a month ago now. And I think after I'm done with Ghost of Tsushima, that's where I'll go to. But I wouldn't say they're really bad gaming purchases. It's just I gotten them and I'm like, well, I could have waited because I am not playing them right now. So
it's true. Yeah. I mean, I can say the same thing about this complete and boxed copy of Pictionary on NES that I pulled off my shelf.
Oh
Garret,
my goodness.
Because I've even got a fancy case as well, so I don't break it. But this copy of Pictionary, very cheap. I actually ended up getting this for $10. But at the same time, did I really need a complete and boxed copy of Pictionary on NES, Garret, when I could have spent that on, lunch or any other myriad of things? Probably that might have been the better choice. So Pictionary on NES, believe it or not, it's one. But I kind of fall in the same camp as you, Garret, where there wasn't a game I purchased this year that I wasn't into. Even games that I picked up and put down, like Elden Ring, stuff like that. Like I still really enjoyed my time with those games. So there wasn't one that I really regret purchasing or anything like that. And likewise, whenever a sale comes around, believe it or not, I've actually been pretty good this year about not buying a bajillion
jumping
games
on it
when they go on sale and then just having them sit in my backlog for so long. So I don't really have like a lot of regrets this year as far as purchases goes. But I mean,
It's good.
come on. Did I really need Pictionary complete box on NES? Well, I kind of did. The music's really good in that game.
It looks cool.
That game kind of sucks. Look at this box. Look how cool this box is. And actually, this isn't the only one I got this year.
You got another one.
I also got RoboCop on NES this year, complete in box, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And then I also got MTV's Remote Control, which is based off the hit, 1990s, game show of the same name, where you sit in, fancy chairs, and if you get questions wrong, like you get like stuff rained on your head. Oh man, so good.
Wow, that is. I think that's cool purchases still, even though you'll probably never play them or anything. They're great, collectibles.
Oh, I played them this year. I played them when I bought them this year. These have been opened. They have been played with.
Cool.
Because I don't buy games, Garrett, usually to just sit on my shelf and never play. I usually whenever I usually buy a retro game, even it's because I know I'm going to play it at some point. So
nice. Nagachaka asks, which 2023 Nintendo game should get a special edition Switch released alongside it? And why is it Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe?
Oh my god, I can imagine like how cool like that a pink Switch OLED would be for, Return to Dreamland Deluxe, which is a game I'm actually pretty excited about because I actually like that game on the Wii. So I like Kirby a lot, so I'm actually pretty excited about that game. But Garrett, if I may, I actually have. Sure. I saw this question ahead of time. I came up with 2 answers. So
go for it.
Number 1. I am so hopeful that just maybe, Metroid Prime 4 comes out in 2023. So we're going to get that Metroid Prime 4 special editions, which that I've always wanted. Because, they didn't do it for Metroid Dread, because I wanted that Metroid Dread Switch OLED, and they didn't do it. They just released the Switch OLED with Metroid Dread just as is. But come on, like getting a Metroid special edition console, like the one that they did for 3DS for Samus Returns, like so good that I'm like, I kind of want them to do that with Switch at some point. And I would buy that. That I would be day one on that. But honestly, out of the games we know about already, it'd be Fire Emblem. If they did one for Fire Emblem, I'd probably get one.
Yeah. Fire Emblem would be good. Oh my gosh. Fire Emblem, I can imagine it right now. It's like the American flag. You got, I would literally see a white dock, just the same one as the Switch OLED dock. And then you just have red, crimson red, and navy blue as your joysticks. And then maybe a little Fire Emblem faded in the bag. That would be that would be pretty funny if they did something like that. But I'm really interested in Tears of the Kingdom, because I know they're most likely gonna have an OLED special edition alongside with this one. And I think the palette behind Tears of the Kingdom, the color palette, is very I really do like it. It's that gem shiny teal color, like that kind of blended blue and green going on, has that kind of dark like caves going on, and I can totally see it being a super dope Switch OLED edition. I hope they go crazy with the design for that one, because I think a lot of people would get a second or third Switch based on the design of this OLED.
Oh yeah, so, absolutely. Yeah, like I would even consider getting one if they did one like that. I think that'd be pretty cool. But we'll see. Maybe there's new Switch hardware when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. So there you go.
Doubt it.
Just blew Garrett's mind right there. He's like, I never even considered that.
It's Nintendo. I don't have hope as much as everyone else with new hardware these days.
Well, please, of course I have hope. I'm the same person who was like, yes, Metroid Prime 4 2023, let's go.
All right, next question. G-Man wants to know, what is the one thing you love about Christmas this time of the year? What do you like about Christmas, Ryan? Do you like Christmas? That's a good question first.
So I am a very bah humbug kind of person. I don't like Christmas decorations, or I don't like dressing up things for Christmas. But what I do like about Christmas time every year is I actually believe it or not, I actually like snow. I mean, as someone who doesn't have to drive and takes public transit everywhere, I actually like winter. Winter is like one of my favorite months. I just like the cold versus, it being hot outside all the time. So of course, getting, a nice snowfall out and spending time with family, like all that stuff is great over Christmas. So I'm going away next week to visit my folks for, almost a week, which I usually don't get that much time to go visit family. So it's going to be fun. So yeah, that's my favorite part about Christmas though, is actually the snow, believe it or not. I like that, but
nice. For me, that's, well, it's interesting because you've been in Houston for quite a few years. So I guess you missed the snow when you were down there.
It snowed one day the entire 3 years I was there, Garrett, and the entire city shut down because there were 2 centimeters of snow on the ground and like nothing could function, and power was out everywhere. Cars were flying off the road. Oh man, it's mass pandemonium on that day.
Let me tell you, when Dallas or Houston gets anything remotely close to ice on the road, schools shut down, people get into accidents. It's so bad over there. They do not know how to take care of the roads at all in Texas. Because I vividly remember slipping on bridges, and it would be like snow of, like, as you said, it's like half an inch and like maybe some ice. They just don't know how to like literally put salt on the roads. Whereas I was in Pittsburgh, and then like a blizzard came through, and they would literally put a pound of salt just like freaking everywhere on the roads. Got so used to it. I do Christmas. I love actually more of the flavors of Christmas, like specifically like coffee and like pumpkin spice related things. Of course, the PSL. I mean, it's okay. I don't go to Starbucks much anymore, and I don't care about the very sugary drinks, but I do love that cinnamon holiday. Like I love a good holiday blend on my coffee. I love, just a warm kind of cozy drink during the holidays. I think that's what I like most about Christmas. Is like it's a little cooler outside, and then I got a nice warm drink and just with a blanket in my Switch or Steam Deck and just chilling. So,
Right.
And
yeah. And I I only have like the opposite approach when it comes to Christmas, because I'm usually working during the Christmas holidays. Like most people usually during Christmas holidays are like, man, I'm excited to have this week or two off from my job. Whereas I'm working like more days than usual at my day job, because I'm basically working like 6-day weeks during Christmas. So yeah, it's a little bit of a different situation, I think.
Wow. All right. We got our last question here. TPR wants to know, what are your biggest positive gaming surprises in 2022? It seems like Ryan enjoying Pokemon Scarlet and Violet is one from my point of view.
Yeah. I was not expecting to really be into Pokemon, because I usually don't get into Pokemon that often, but I kind of expected to be into it, when we did our RPG Cave episode, because you remember, Garrett, we did that episode a week before Scarlet came out. I remember being really excited for it, like more excited than I had been for any Pokemon game before. And, even though it had its technical limitations, like I was still pretty excited about it. So I felt like Pokemon, even with the technical problems, actually kind of met the expectations I had for it going in. So I wouldn't really call it like a big gaming surprise, but I'm also going to throw out there that a lot of my gaming surprises this year just naturally come from other platforms, because that is where I do spend a lot more of my time. For example, Need for Speed Unbound is a game that comes to mind instantly when I saw this question, because it's a game that I had zero hype for coming out. I don't really love racing games all that much, but I do like certain racing games, like especially like very arcadey racing games that are very linear. Like that's very much my jam. Which is also very surprising considering how much I loved Gran Turismo 7 this year as well, which is like the most hardcore of hardcore racing games. But Need for Speed Unbound was just a really fun game to play this year, and I just really enjoyed it a lot, and way more than I thought it would, because all the new Need for Speed games had not been very good, and this one in particular was really, really, really good. So Need for Speed Unbound was probably my biggest surprise of the year. Also, Elden Ring kind of fits in that camp too, because honestly, I don't like Souls games and I don't like Dark Souls, but I loved Elden Ring, and that surprised me more than anything. Like I couldn't believe how much I liked that game, and how much it hooked me. So got to give a shout out to that. But on Switch, I don't really have a good example for this. So Garrett, what about you?
I think, yeah, my biggest one was on Switch, and it's definitely Pokemon Legends Arceus. I was kind of on the fence even getting it. And I think after reviews came out, that's when I actually bought the game because it was such positive reviews. Yeah, man, this game, I just didn't know what this game was beforehand. Like they were kind of vague about it, especially like the open worldness and the performance of this game. But when I actually went through it, it's like I love how refreshing this game is. Like compared to the traditional Pokemon style, I like all the different forms of the Pokemon. I like how it's more of an open area, Monster Hunter-esque type of game than anything else. Like even after playing Scarlet and Violet, I would rather play Legends Arceus. I think that's I personally, to me, I prefer that kind of gameplay over the traditional Pokemon game. And I think it's just maybe because my gaming palette kind of evolved over time. But yeah, man, Legends Arceus was a good one. And I hope Game Freak continues to mess around with that formula. I think it worked out for them. But you know, with timing wise and how much effort that they take, I don't know. Like I would rather have them kind of make a really good Pokemon game, focus all their efforts on it rather than splitting their time up and splitting their efforts. So I'm glad Legends Arceus was a game that just came out of fruition this year. This was totally out of left field and really surprised me. You know?
Yeah, I that's one I still need to get to at some point because I haven't picked it up yet, and I totally need to when it goes on sale because it was on sale a little while ago, but I just missed out on getting a copy then. So I do need to check that one out at some point because I think I probably would like it more than I think I will.
Yeah, I would suggest going through. Of course, you'll finish out Scarlet and Violet, and then maybe take a little time, and there's like when you're ready to go back into Pokemon. Legends Arceus is there waiting for you. It's a really special game for sure, and it doesn't take too long to get through it. So, that's pretty much it. All right, well that's pretty much it. Ryan, do you have anything else for us? Like the being in the shack and hanging out with me.
Yeah, this was a lot of fun. So first of all, Garrett, thank you so much for thinking of me and bringing me in here when Rebecca was away. I do appreciate it. This was a lot of fun. Again, I usually don't get to talk Nintendo very often, let alone when do I get to talk about remote control, MTV's remote control on the NES, Garrett? Not very many of those opportunities exist. So huge thank you to you bringing me on the show. Of course, if you want more of me and Garrett, you can actually head on over to Carpool Gaming, youtube.com/Carpool Gaming, where we do the RPG Cave every single Monday night, where Garrett and I talk about RPGs. We usually go live around 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, or 8 p.m. Pacific. So you can go check us out there. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford, Turford, because everybody always asks. But thanks for having me, Garrett. This was a lot of fun.
Yes. It was nice talking to you about Nintendo stuff. There was a lot of little bits of news that was super cool. Just to let everyone know, next week, 23rd, me and Rebecca are skipping next week, and just keep on the lookout on Twitter when we'll be back on. I just don't know scheduling wise with the holidays. It could be in and out. So just keep an eye out on Twitter when the next episode rolls around. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you for hanging out, and I will see you sometime, maybe in the new year. So good night, Koopalings.
Goodbye, everybody. Happy holidays.
Bye-bye.